Hello, it's Amanda here from Suddenly Autistic, and this week I have been reflecting on communication styles, and in particular my preference for direct communication. And in light of that, I suppose thinking that I've been doing this week, I have been reflecting on a video that I watched a while ago that triggered me, and that was a video that was pointing out the 5 ways in which we manipulate people every day. So that's the context. I want to have a little dive into this from my own perspective, and I'd love to hear in the comments your experience of this as a topic once we get into it. Thank you for watching. Now, there's a lady, a licensed therapist who makes mental health videos to educate and empower people. That's the bio. Her name is Kati Morton. So Kati and then Morton. And she is on YouTube. She has 1.18 million subscribers, which is fantastic. She does a great job. She's very, very easy to watch and listen to. Although I have to say that I don't relate to the origin of thoughts often, maybe not often, maybe just always is a better word. I don't always relate to how she's, thinking things come from. However, I do get a lot from her videos. I think she's a great person. She puts a lot of effort in. The videos are easy to watch. They're very well formatted. And I enjoy the fact that she shares some of her vulnerabilities as well, and clearly her strength as a mental health professional. So anyway, on the 24th of December 2019, she loaded a video onto YouTube, which is called 5 Ways You Are Being Manipulative. I didn't see that video then. I wasn't looking for that content. I hadn't subscribed to her. But since then I have. And I watched that video maybe a month or 2 ago, and it triggered me. It literally did. And being triggered by something is how can I put it? For me, being triggered by something isn't going, oh, that's horrible, turn it off. It's not having a thought or a feeling that's like, yeah, nah, I don't like that, that's terrible. For me, it's a deep sense of unease. A trigger is something within me has shifted and made me feel a little bit maybe nauseous, or it might make me start to feel like anger is rising, or sadness. I might start to feel quite heavy. And this is interesting for me being able to talk like this, because I haven't been able to link my thoughts and feelings very much at all. I'm sitting here with this, which is a chart, a feeling sort of rainbow chart that I've downloaded off the internet for free. It's a free resource. So I'm working a lot on this and trying to track back my thoughts and feelings. And I've also got this here, which is why I keep talking about thoughts and feelings, because you know what? Again, emotional literacy is not great in my head or my body. So I'm reminding myself of what's a thought and what's a feeling and trying to link them. The first thing that she said, which didn't really elicit a massive response in me, but it has as after reflection, is the first example she gave was over passive aggression as a way of manipulation. So people use passive aggression, and she was talking about people yelling to make people do things, people making people late, so not respecting their arrangement and then turning up late, inconveniencing everyone, doing it on purpose. I'm guessing is the thing here, or having a level of awareness around that's what you're doing, or a pattern that you do and you haven't addressed or looked at and gone, oh, is this actually, and this isn't necessarily, again, I might be paraphrasing this, but I get the feeling that this is with a level of putting yourself first consciousness, and that's relevant to me. And basically making people a little bit miserable for making you do something. So if someone demands something of you, say like, come on, do the washing up, you don't want to do it. So while you're doing it, you're moaning, you're whinging, you're clashing, you're banging, you're kicking, you whatever. You're basically causing a bit of a scene. So passive aggression. Now, as I said, that didn't trigger me very much, because I have said many, many, many times to many, many people that I'm not so much passive aggressive, I'm aggressive aggressive. And when I say that, people, again, like, I get a weird response, not a, oh, great that you know that, that's awesome. It's a combination of shock, sort of horror, dismay, scared, this person saying they're an angry person. No. When I say I'm not passive aggressive, I'm just aggressive, I don't mean I wake up and I want to kill somebody, or that I'm capable of doing that, or that I enjoy that. That would be sadistic and not me at all. What I'm saying is that if I have angry feelings come up and someone has made me feel anger, that's not the right language. If I have felt anger because of what somebody has been doing in my presence or whatever, they don't make me feel it. I feel it. I will display that actively. Again, it doesn't mean necessarily that I'm going to hit, scratch, kick, pin down that person. No, I am going to get into my power body, if you like, stand up for myself, as if you want to think of it that way, I guess, and defend my right to exist, I suppose, in a way that's safe and respectful of me. That's what I mean by aggressive. So if somebody is doing a behavior that is making me, it's triggering that whole, you're being attacked, you're angry now, whatever. And I mean, where does that anger come from? Let's have a look at my little wheel. So aggression is coming out of anger. I could feel aggression, and basically I'm feeling provoked or hostile. Sometimes I feel infuriated or annoyed. Sometimes I don't so much get angry when I'm feeling skeptical or dismissive. There's others here. Sometimes it can be ridicule, and often it can be disrespected. So if I get angry, and I think I'd like to think of this as righteous anger, but I would be kidding myself sometimes, because when you're triggered and then an anger arises in you, it's not necessarily right or righteous. You're not necessarily fighting the good fight, standing up for the small guy or yourself or whatever. You're sometimes just being triggered and projecting fears and whatever. And I'm aware of that, so I'm very, very aware of my anger. But the idea that people can be a little, knocked aback by, it's almost like, well, hang on, would you rather I be passive aggressive? That to me is, do I have a choice? No, I don't have a choice on that. So this first one that Kati Morton was talking about, this passive aggression, and she didn't talk about actual aggression, but I'm talking about that. When I'm responding with actual anger. I think people are also a bit freaked out about that coming from a woman or a young girl or whatever. I mean, I've been both of those things. Now I'm getting towards an older woman, but I will continue to be angry if I'm angry. Okay, it's one of the emotions. It translates into many sort of whatever. It comes from different places, but I'm not going to be reckless with that anger. It's going to be direct. You're going to understand it if you pay attention, because it will be from this and that, and I will explain it. So if in the moment and in the past, when I have been triggered into an angry response and I've realized that I am triggered from something that's not you, it's something else, and that it's not your fault, or it's nothing to do with the situation, you didn't cause this in any way, then I will apologize, and apologize quickly and fully, as full as you are ready to accept, and as quickly as you are ready to listen or be present for. So that was one thing. I understand, and I have witnessed, and I live within situations at times where passive aggression does seem to be the norm, for sure. And it's funny to me as an autistic person, and you know what, even just as me, I don't know then how much of this is autistic me or just me, but for me it's like, why? Why do people prefer passive aggression? Are they trying to pretend they're not aggressive, and passive is like, well, that maybe the other person will think it's them? That's like doubly bad. Anyway, that was one of them. There's 5. I'm not going to go through all 5. You'll be glad to know, perhaps. The second is the art of suggestion, which I didn't really understand, to be fair. So I wasn't going to talk about much. I kind of got it a bit. It's like making suggestions that favour you rather than, the whole. So she gave an example. If somebody asks you to go to dinner and you can't be bothered to go all the way over to, after work, go into the city or whatever, so you suggest somewhere closer. I might do that with someone. If someone says, hey, let's go out tonight, or let's go out next week, I really want to go to karaoke in the city, and I'll be like, but I'd be more inclined to say, well, I wouldn't really want to drive all that way. I would prefer if we do go out, we go somewhere local just now. I would be more inclined to do that, or I'd be more inclined to say, yeah, okay, and then feel so tired and drained and not really, not that I didn't want to do it, but regret that I said yes so quickly, but do it anyway. I usually do those things anyway, unless something terrible comes up. So the art of suggestion I found really hard, because often if I'm put on the spur of the moment, I will either say yes or I will be honest. So manipulation isn't it wouldn't come to me then either. The third one is playing the victim or being the martyr. And, no, I can't relate to this at all. So this was one that I was like, I really don't relate to this. However, I understand this one quite well intellectually. Playing the victim or being the martyr, trying to get more love and sympathy is what she said people do this for. And I haven't really understood why people do this, or whether they know why they do it. But I have certainly seen people in the past, in many situations, playing the victim or being the martyr. If I behave in a way that makes it feel like, I often do take on a lot, and I will be, walking around with sort of a frowny face and saying I'm tired and all the rest of it. This isn't me trying to play the role of a martyr. This is me being honest. I'm honestly tired. Now, am I taking on other things because I want more love and sympathy, or I want people to feel like I'm this brilliant person? Well, no. Usually I'm taking on more than I can handle because I have bad awareness. I don't know what I can handle. I have no idea how long things will take me. And maybe I take on the right amount of stuff, but it takes me so long it becomes too heavy. I prefer to be left alone, and this is honestly true. I'm often trying to be left alone. In fact, anything, if I'm looking overburdened and people are noticing, that freaks me out. I would rather be invisible than be noticed, which is hard to understand most of the time. But in this scenario, that is true. The fourth one she said was lying, saying you're going to do something but you don't intend to do it. And she gave an example of something like laundry or whatever, and that made sense. But no, again, I just don't understand that. Lying, I can lie. Now, I don't want to think I'm going through this list of manipulation and thinking that I'm somehow, this holy being that never makes any errors in this way. I can lie outright occasionally about things if I need to, but it's a cognitive process. It's a real, I've got to pin this narrative down to my, it's like being a reverse detective or, criminal, isn't it? It's a crime, you're lying. But no, saying I'm going to do something and not intending to do it is not what I will do. If I say I'm going to do something, that is coded into my DNA almost, that I'm going to do that. I've said I'll do it. That's what people do. They say they'll do it. That is important. It's important to me as a value that I follow through. It's important to me as a human that I honour my responsibilities. I'm big on responsibilities. However, I'm also very poor on self-management. I do tend to say yes. Sometimes that's coming from a trauma response. There's all sorts of things that can come in and make it hard for me to fulfill what I've suggested I'd do. But that's not because I'm lying. And when I realize that, I will usually be able to communicate that. What I've noticed with that one is that because that happens to me, I wouldn't say a lot, but it has happened in the past, I think this is where I've been traumatized a lot, because I think other people think that I started out lying, never had any intention to do the thing. But that could not be further from the truth at all. And I think this is true of a lot of these, that sometimes my behavior looks like it's this, and that I'm aware and that I'm just being manipulative, but actually it's not at all. It's not in my zone to do that. So the last and most significant way that we manipulate people every day, according to Kati Morton's video, 5 ways in which you're being manipulative, the last way is stonewalling. And stonewalling, Kati mentioned, is terrible. It's one of the worst ways in which we manipulate people. And what it is it's a refusal to communicate or cooperate, not answering calls, texts, etc. And apparently, according to Kati's rationale and communication, this is an attempt to try and force people to bend to our will, turning a small disagreement then into something that's bigger as a consequence of this lack of communication. And in the vacuum, the gap becomes a catastrophe, I'm guessing. Now, this really triggered me when I watched the video, and has been playing on my mind as things that can teach you and change you and challenge you in a way that only those things can. And the reason for that is because I do this behavior. I frequently unanswer phone calls. I struggle to get back to people. I don't, I find it can be quite triggering to listen to messages sometimes. I occasionally miss emails or forget to answer, or think I've answered and I haven't, and it looks like I'm not answering or whatever. It can be chaotic. So in terms, the reason it triggered me is because I can tell from the power behind this that it never goes well, and that it hurts people very deeply, and that it is somewhat more manipulative than any of the other strategies that Kati mentioned that we use every day. And to feel that this is the one, or to relate to this one so strongly, really upset me, because and triggered me, I should say. It triggered me, and what I mean by that is it sunk my soul and spirit to the floor, like literally like somebody had tied a brick around me or put concrete boots on me and stuck me in the ocean, and there I was at the bottom, can't breathe, all the pressure, literally exploding. Now, I know now, because I know myself better, why that's such a trigger. For me, pairing life as a traumatic experience, the traumas of my particular life and the traumatic experience of being an autistic person alive anyway, is somewhat not to blame. I wanted to say that because it falls off your tongue, but not really. That's one aspect. Another aspect is the awareness of how other people take it, and an understanding now of the origin of that behavior. So when many neurotypical people stonewall, they're doing it to try and force people to bend to our will. It seems to be that's the thing, and maybe people relate to that. For me personally, I have had this happen to me as opposed to be chosen by me. And I don't say that in a way that dismisses my responsibility for my actions. I feel very much that I'm responsible for my actions, and that I had no responsibility. No, I had no control, sorry, is the word. I had no control. So why this triggered me is about power and control. Kati's explanation of manipulation techniques, for me, on reflection, gave me an insight into the level of power that people have over their own responses, potentially, in some situations, and the ways in which they then utilize that power to gain a sense of control and keep themselves comfortable. I don't have that at the moment. I haven't had that at all in the past. I'm not sure whether I'll gain that sense of power and control and toolkit in the future, given my trauma history, but most importantly, my autism and my ADHD. That then triggered any anger and disgust and fear I had into a sadness, which is arguably, I guess, one of the purest sort of deepest, which is why it felt like I was sinking to the bottom of the ocean. It's a grieving. It's another grieving. So finding out that this stonewalling, not answering calls and texts and blah, 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 is something that people do. It's a high level of manipulation, and it makes people feel so bad and so sad. And you know, it's trying to get people to bend to your will. That really upset me because, yes, of course, some of the origins of me not responding to things is to get people to bend to my will. My will being to leave me alone, to respect my difference, my neurodiversity, my alternative communication needs, not wants, my needs, my lack of capacity in some areas. I am using the only tool I have in my kit, if I'm being conscious about it, to create some space for me to process, to catch up, because I have a processing delay in this way. To say that those reactions are conscious, or to take responsibility for them as a fully conscious tool that I can employ when the going gets tough to keep me safe is disingenuous to myself. Stonewalling other people by not answering things never makes me feel better. It makes me feel 10 times worse from the get-go. As soon as I notice, say, a work email or something that comes in, it can trigger a process within me, and the stonewalling happens within me, as in I have a shutdown. So a shutdown is similar to a meltdown in terms of autistic overstimulation, and it's a mechanism that happens to protect ourselves for sure. But notice it's protecting ourselves to shut down, to create some inner reflection and space, rather than to manipulate or change others. And I think that's why it was such a strong thing for me. I've got hairs on my face again, because Kati, I understood exactly what she was saying, where she was coming from. And I must admit, all of these things I do, to one level or another, I can see how they happen. I could see how I might sometimes do that occasionally, or could never do it because of this. But this one in particular was really hard for me, because I do the behavior, but the origin of it is so difficult and so complex and so meshed in my neurodiversity and my trauma history, that I'm not sure I will easily or ever be able to fully master this in real time. Now, given time, I can, and that's the kick. The world moves very quickly. When this has happened to me, when I've, the times when I haven't answered calls, texts, etc., have usually been in a work context. And it's not that I haven't full stop answered. It's that the onslaught, and that's how it feels, the onslaught or attack in nature of people's communication or demands in a business, somebody, who's to say the customer or someone else isn't triggered and isn't just anxious and projecting, and sometimes I can see that is the case. But it's like, well, that keeps on coming at their pace, so they've got a level of control over how much they prod, and then I have to keep responding when it's painful for me and difficult for me, and then to the final point when I've lost my capacity and have shut down. And that isn't just saying, oh, I've had enough of this person, they're doing my head in. This is literally having no processes left in the brain. It's a circuitry fry. The brain is damaged at that point. The shutdown isn't just, oh, I'm now going to watch Netflix and chill. This is, I need to go to sleep in a dark room, and it might take me 3 days to get over this. I can't remember to get a spoon out to eat my breakfast, or to put the milk away in the fridge instead of the cupboard when I'm making a cup of tea. So I really want to thank Kati Morton for putting this video about manipulation together, and for making it accessible to people like me who are trying and paying. So I'm paying for therapy. I am paying for my regular therapy. I've got specialty therapy that I do when I can afford it and when I have a thing that needs to go through. I do a lot of self-care. I'm investing a lot of my own time and resources. But it's really, really nice that we have people like Kati and others who are sharing very generously online. And I can't at the moment subscribe to Patreons and pay lots of money for these things, because I am putting a lot of money towards these other things. But in engaging in the content and sharing with you, I'm hoping that pays it back a little, pays it forward a little bit, and maybe in the future I can give her some money, because I feel like this is a valuable lesson. But it's not a valuable lesson, and I think this is the last thing I wanted to end on. Me watching Kati's therapy videos triggered me into a dark place of myself and made me feel very discombobulated and sad and confused and pained. I actually feel pain even now sitting here talking about it. Therapy can do that to you sometimes. Therapy can feel like that in you sometimes, but that doesn't mean it's not working or not good or not healthy. It's what I'm doing with those feelings that I think help, and the pain that was triggered in that video is being explored here, and has been explored by me in different ways through my art therapy and whatnot, and through these sort of therapy toolkits. And it's enabling me to understand why people respond so strongly negatively towards some of the behaviors I do. and it's helping me to work out what I can and can't control around that behavior, and what I could do to communicate, because it's all about communication. Katie's video about manipulation did stress the art of communication, how important communication is, and I do have the power to communicate, and I now have the insight that allows me a little power and allows me to establish some boundaries, which is a form of control in a relationship, such as a business relationship or a task-related outcome. I didn't have those before. So I was feeling all the pain and all the disgust from others and all the misaligned understanding of myself. All of that was coming at me, and that's traumatizing in itself. And I felt like I was lost in, like I said, sunk in a sea of other people's disapproval, because they were reading my actions incorrectly, and it wasn't at all about what they thought it was, but that's how it looked and that's how it felt to them. Now I can understand that, but that hasn't come without being me being re-triggered again. All of these examples and all of these tools and all of these real life situations, going out there and experiencing life and being with people, is helping me to understand myself better and reflect on things that have happened before and heal from things that have happened before, and set a life going forward that is more conducive to smooth transactions with other people. It's very complicated. I assume it's different and difficult it's difficult for everyone, and it's different for everybody. Our thoughts and our feelings are really valid in all these things, and I really want to encourage anybody who's watching videos and feeling triggered or traumatized or, you know, confused or not really on the same page as someone. It's about sharing, of course, sharing with an open mind and an open heart. They're not wrong, you're not wrong. Everything's different, but talking and explaining is going to help, and I really hope that's what happens here. So thanks for listening. Again, it's been great to air my views to the internet and have my mother watch, hopefully. Bless her. Thanks, Mum. Love you. Okay, see you later.